Hello everybody, this is Michael from the Board Games Chronicle again. I'm continuing today the fantastic journey with the Pacific War. We play the battle scenarios, we played all engagement, and we are now halfway through the battle scenarios. Today we are playing the battle scenario 4, Battle of Eastern Solomon. So, very interesting scenario, one of the scenarios which is deemed as very good for tournaments, close, with significant forces on both sides, and interesting victory conditions. Let us jump immediately to this. In the rulebook, we have, of course, the setup. There are a couple of errata, which you can find on GM design. The most prominent is Soryu has been sunk at midway, so it cannot be here. Here we have a small correction about the name of this plane, and here also a small correction, which is just making sure that this is carrier capable plane. What's the situation? So, Americans managed to capture Guadalcanal. It was a surprising attack in August 1942. And as you can see, they managed to repair Henderson Field. This is the small base. And they put some planes there. They are over here. Not too many, like 2 steps of L1 and 1 step of L0. They have pretty significant forces in New Caledonia here, like 3 air carriers. Japanese decided we need to attack the Guadalcanal and take back the airfield and the island. So they are preparing for the invasion. Important note, at the beginning of the game, all the forces here as a forces. I already divided them into the task forces, so this is not how the setup looks like. This is already my interpretation, how I would like to play this solo. Okay, so what we have on Japanese side? First of all, the first task force here. Yeah, it's Rabaul, it's large base. It's task force which is supposed to land in the Guadalcanal. We have APD and destroyers carrying 2 units. I specifically distributed them because both sides will have possibility to use the submarines. And they have some cruisers, here as a defense. Then you have task force 3, which is here, small base. And then we have a huge armada in Truk, and it was one of the most important Japanese bases during the Pacific War. And there we have a huge 3 carrier, 3 battleship task force, so 6 capital ships and 4 non-capital ships. This is maximum what you can put into the task force, 10 ships. And on top of this, we have a small force, task force 5 here, which is just a couple of destroyers, cruiser, seaplane, carrier, exactly. On top of this, in Rabaul, so here we have force 1. We have, Rabaul is here, of course, force 1, with some fighters and tactical bombers. One thing which is pretty obvious, we don't have a long-range air reconnaissance planes on neither of sides. That means spotting each other will be a problem and can really lead to some interesting developments. In most of the scenarios, we had always this long-range airplanes, but not here. Now, regarding the victory conditions. The Japan win if they land at least 1 battalion of ground units on Guadalcanal, so here, and if they either interdict Henderson Field, which is here, so we must inflict like 5 hits during one cycle, or so interdict Henderson Field at any time, or at the end of 1 battle cycle, have eliminated all US air units on Guadalcanal. So the first condition is land the battalion. The second condition is one of 2. Either interdict the airbase or make sure there are no airplanes, US airplanes there. Allied victory, the Allies win if they prevent the Japanese from achieving their victory conditions and sink more Japanese capital ships than they lose. Important note, in this scenario specifically, we have a rule that every 10 Japanese or 15 Allied non-capital ship hits equal 1 capital ship sunk for victory condition purposes. So you see this escort here, which will be sailing, for example, through Guadalcanal, and if they are sunk by the Americans, they will count as points, yeah, for American player. Now, that would be, of course, units have to deactivate at the end of scenario, otherwise are considered eliminated for victory condition purposes, but this is always in battle scenarios. This task force cannot move farther than 5 hexes from New Caledonia till the moment the Allied naval unit is attacked. Only after this they can. Now, why this scenario is so interesting? There are a couple ways of approaching it. One is called rush the Guadalcanal. As you can see, Task Force 1 has only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexes to reach Guadalcanal, while the Americans have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hexes. So you may say, okay, we rush there with those small forces, we land the battalion, and then during the bombardment, because remember, you can also use bombardment to attack installations, and we have here bombardment for here. We attack the base, we inflict the hits, and voila, we won immediately. But there is a catch to this. When we will be approaching this very quickly, the Japanese carriers will not manage to catch up. And American carriers pretty soon will be within the reach of airstrike. So when we move 6 hexes here, and then, of course, because the operational intelligence condition is intercept, so both sides move with the same speed. If they move 6 hexes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they will be almost within the striking range, and definitely they will be able to land the airplanes from air carriers here in the base, because one of the conditions is there are no planes there, and getting rid of those small forces of planes probably will not be problematic for the Japanese player. So there are a lot of ways to play it. As I said, we can try to play it with a rush the island approach, or this is like 50-50 possibility of success, or we can play it in a more, how to say, a reasonable and prepared way. How would that look like? Most probably those forces, task forces sailing out, merging to some extent, at least partially, and then waiting for the main force come and screen them. But of course can result in a huge naval battle. But Americans can at the same time send some cruisers, for example, here, put them in Guadalcanal. And remember, if you have a naval unit and in the hex and you want to land a ground unit, it's not only amphibious assault, it's also some additional penalties and delays in attacking in such space. For example, you can only land the units in the hex with other naval unit if your ships have not moved. So this is like one additional turn of waiting. And those submarines would be also very painful, especially because Japanese attack has 5 subtracted from this die roll. So could be really interesting. Okay, so I think, guys, it's time to play. We can either play the rush the island or a reasonable approach. I would roll a die. I think that's the best way to check which way we should play. 0 to 4, we play rush the island. 5 to 9, we play in a more reasonable way, waiting for those air carriers to arrive. So we play Rush the Island. Interesting. That could be quick and decisive. Definitely it can finish in our way. Okay. So we start from an operational player contact phase. So we will be moving 2 hexes first, and nobody can stop us yet. The day moves 1 hex here, and everybody is sailing forward, of course. 1, 2, 1, 2. So this is it. Now, should Americans stop the Japanese? Already, I don't think so. I would allow for at least 1 more move. We want, of course, also the American forces to be closer. And I think we allow for 1 more move. So the 4th, it will be 1 more day. Okay, we can do the searches, and actually we should do the searches. Let me now do the cumulative number of searches. We have 2 planes, and they have a range of up to US, Japan. It's not correct. So this is US, this is up to 5 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they can search at 5, 4, 3, 2. A couple of rolls, 5, 4, 3, 2. And the second plane can search for those guys at 3, 4, 5. Okay. So 3, 4, 5. First at 5, nothing. Then at 4, nothing. And at 3. Yes, they are found. Now we search for those guys at 2, 3, 4, 5. It's kind of an accelerated searching method. 5. Yes, they are found. Okay. And now after the 4 moves, 1, 2, 3, 4. After 4 moves, the reaction player says, stop. I don't want you to move any further. Please let me do my moves. And they will sail out, of course. Task Force 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And Task Force 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let us remember they can only move 1 more hex. Okay, there are no searches from the Japanese, of course. So reaction player contact phase finished. And with this, we will be starting the battle cycles in the Rush the Island approach. Okay, let us continue with the first battle cycle. It's pretty important. What shall the operational player do now? That is the Japanese. I would like to remind you that they can either, at the beginning of the battle cycles, choose the weather. Actually, choose the lightning conditions, sorry, not the weather. And they can also later on choose to move it by 2 hexes forward. I think dusk could be a good idea. Remember, the dusk and night does not prevent the bombardment. So there will be nothing which will stop the Japanese from bombarding and trying to interdict the airfield. Okay, just thinking, what should they do? I think dusk it is. It will be problematic for those planes to land, not maybe from the WASP, because you see, first time in the battle scenarios we have L2 on the air carrier. Yeah, so this is first time when we see something like this. But you never know if the submarines will not hit them. Okay, big roles now. One thing I would like to check about the submarines at the conclusion of any movement phase. Okay, and this submarine attack is with a strength of 2, and Japanese, as I said, subtract 5. And what we also need, of course, guys, is our attacks, but CRT, combat resistance, but maybe in a moment. So, big roll, big time, big roll. And the Japanese are first. So they, of course, move 2 hexes with those. They move 2 hexes with those. There are no visible forces there. There are some forces there of both Japanese and American, so unloading the troops will not actually enable us to interdict the base as it would usually be. So what will happen now? This was, let me finish. Naval moves. These were the naval moves. Now, after the naval moves, we have air missions. No, we have still the moves. So there was the naval moves. We don't do any air moves. No, we don't. And we now do the ground moves. So we unload those guys. They use a BCM. There is no naval unit there, so yeah, we can do it. Activate it. And let me check where I have force. Yep, here it is, force. Okay, now advantage air mission, nothing. Naval combat, nothing. Bombardment. And of course, we'll be doing the bombardment. We have, whom do we have for bombardment? We have destroyer, we have APD, and we have to cruise. It could be very quick. Okay, let's see. Let's see how it goes. Maybe it will pay off. So bombardment, 2-1, 2-2, 2-4, 2-4. And bombardment is of course here. Bombardment versus installation. That's over here. 2-1, nothing. Up to 2, nothing. Up to 4, nothing. Up to 4, nothing. So they missed. No, not everything is lost, as you can see. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think potentially during the move they could search. Yes, they could search. So let me just check. We have planes here. Yes, we have planes here. And the Japanese have a range of 6, if I'm not mistaken, on their planes. So they can search this task force and this task force. Those also have planes. Okay. So searching here, searching here. It was assumed still during the movement. 0 is finding the task force. No. Okie doke. So no ground combat, no airfield repaired, no ready. Disadvantage movement. The Wasp can move only 1 hex. And those guys can move 2 hexes. Can they do the attack? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, not yet. Remember, a shorter range of oh no, guys, sorry to say, they cannot. Shorter range, of course, they have range of 7, they have range of 8. and 1, 2, 3, they are not able to do it. So there is no possibility for them to do it. Do we want to do the airstrike in here in the base? I think this a good idea, because we anyhow will not be able to do much more. So on the other hand, if there are no planes at the end of the battle cycle, yeah, we lose as Americans. So no kamikaze, not yet. We are not ready for this. We'll conclude that way the battle cycle. Those guys are not visible anymore. So that finishes this battle cycle. Let us move to the next one. Battle cycle 2. In battle cycle 2, we roll in a moment. First lightning is night, and we roll now for initiative. Japanese again. That will allow them to do the bombardment once again. Should Americans get the initiative, they would go through all those steps, and only here Japanese would have their say. But in this case, yeah, that's the other way around. So, okay, what happens first? I would say that this time we will be using, first of all, the submarines after the conclusion of the movement phase. Would Americans try to use them before? Maybe, but they forgot, so they will need to do it now in this battle cycle. So, advantage and determination, advantage movement. We for sure move this task force here. They cannot combine because they would have to start the movement phase together. It will be easier to detect now those task forces, and the searches will convey in a moment. So, as for the searches, Japanese are trying to search for those two, and they are being searched, of course, by the opponent. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4 and 5 hexes. We have enough planes there to search 2 times. 4 hexes up to 2, 5 hexes up to 1. 5 hexes, no. 4 hexes, no. Doesn't change a lot because there will be no airstrike, so we actually don't have to do the searches. I will not continue. There will be no air missions. The night air missions can be done only by the L2 airplanes, if I'm not mistaken. But as per the rules, double checking if I'm not. Yeah. Japanese TL2 units can conduct airstrikes against task forces only, but I don't see L2 tactical bombers. So that's it. No naval attacks, but bombardment. And now we have bombardment from 2 task forces, and that can change a lot. So this is bombardment 1, 4, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4 fours, 2 ones, and 2. So first attack with bombardment up to 1, 2 times. Up to 1, 2 times. Nothing. Nothing. And now up to 2, 1 time. Nothing. 4 times up to 4. Okay, that would be most probably 1 hit. 4, 4. Yes, this is 1 hit, 1 internet. It will need to some more hits. Now we roll second time up to 4. 8, nothing. Third time up to 4. Nothing. And 5 up to 4. Nothing. The base will self repair. Very poor rolling, very poor rolling, and with such rolling, I don't believe a lot will happen. Okay, now we move further. No ground combat, airfield repair. Of course, it repairs itself. Now, division, disadvantage movement. Wasp cannot move still, but those guys can move to be within striking distance and will not do detection because there will be no fight. I'm just wondering whether we should not do those naval attacks of submarines. I think we will do both sides. No, Japanese don't want the Wasp to be closer, but Americans will attack up to 2. Let me roll and let's see whether it has any sense. And we try at those because they have most bombardment. Up to 2, 0. You see, that's the rolls we need. 0 would be a huge attack. 2, 0. And this is naval versus submarines. Submarine or naval versus naval. This is 2 hits, plus we roll for a critical hit. 7. 3 hits. Beautiful. Beautiful. I will be putting those hits in such a way so you remember for the victory point purposes. Now the Japanese are thinking, should we attack with our submarines? Our carriers are so far away. No, we will not. So they decide we will not attack with the submarines. So the day passed and another 2 days are behind us. We'll be moving to the third battle cycle in a moment, and it's going to be very interesting because the air carriers also, Japanese air carriers will also have now the range to the Henderson field. Okay, let me pause here for a moment. Okay guys, let's come back to this exciting scenario. Now, battle cycle 3. The Japanese are pretty close to victory, but a lot will depend on the sequence of play in this battle cycle. Lightning is day AM, and we now roll for the advantage determination. Americans will go first this time. Okay. Time for some show, I think. Mainly the attacks from the planes. Let's see whether we do any kind of movement. That's a good question, whether we should not hit them also in the battle. Although those guys are too precious. No. Those guys are too precious to attack them in the regular combat. Let's just strike with airstrike. It would be it. Because I was thinking about sailing with Task Force 1 here into Guadalcanal, but you see, there are like 5 units, and here we have 7, and this mass is coming. So we need to preserve. I'd rather try to cripple those task forces. Of course, first of all, we need to find them, which is not so obvious. Okay, so we start with searches. This is 3 hexes on US screen. We'll approach 1 hex more to be within 1 hex of movement. Maybe that's not a bad idea. So we are 3 hexes, 2 hexes. We roll up to 4, but because there are 2 task forces, we roll up to 5. and we'll find them. No, they didn't manage to find them. My goodness. The search was not successful. We don't see them there. Well, on the other hand, the Japanese will also try a search, and their search will be, I believe, up to 2 hexes without any modifiers. And they found them. At the same time, they can try to find them. They have enough planes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up to 5. I believe it will be 0, 1. Yes, 0, 1. Yeah, they found both task forces. Okay, but you know, that's the spirit of warfare in the Pacific. Who sees whom? It really changes a lot. As those American ships approach, I think it's prudent to unleash, after the movement phase, yeah, we just finished the movement phase, to unleash the subs. So the subs, just a reminder, for the Japanese works that way that the Japanese attack has 5 subtracted from this die roll and adds 3 to any critical hit. They will attack one of the carriers here. It will be Enterprise. It's full strength. Each hit on the Enterprise will be hit also on the planes. So a big roll. Four -5, that's 0, and 0. It would be most painful. Okay, strength of the submarines is 2, so 0 goes here. We go here. This is a submarine or naval versus naval 2 hits, and we have now the critical hit, and we add +3. So there are already 2 hits. Let's see. 9 + 3, that's 12. 12? Oh my goodness. That's another 3 hits. 3 hits plus 3 hits equals total destruction of the Enterprise. I was not expecting this. And all the planes on it. I was totally not expecting this. That was a lucky rolling. 9 and +3, that's 12. So, my goodness. Okay. I think now the Wasp will be able now to move, but I'm not sure if they will not rather turn back. And by the way, let's put those hits in a way where we can count. No, we don't count on the capital ships these points. Yeah, you remember those 10 or 15 hits on non-capital ships. We don't count it like this. Very successful submarines. Superb successful submarines. There will be no air missions because nobody detected on the Japanese side. No bombardment. Yes, no naval combat, but there is bombardment. And during the bombardment, those ships again will bombard and again try to interdict those this field. It's, I think, third attempt. So we roll on. Bombardment 1, 1, 1, 3 ones, 2, 1, 2, and 3 fours. So up to 1, nothing. Up to 1, nothing. Up to 1, nothing. Now up to 2. Nothing. That's good for the critical hits, but not necessarily for bombardment. And now we have 3 fours up to 4. Up to 4. 2. Okay, that should be some hit. 4, 2. Bombardment versus installation. That's 2 hits. 3 short. And you see what is worse, that Airfield repair is here. On the other hand, where we'll have the attacks with the plane, so it will be interesting to see what will happen. And now still 2 4s. 4. So this is 1 hit. And guys, I believe, and I was not doing this correctly, but I will double check, and last 4, 5, that each hit on the base should actually take also 1 hit on the airplane. Yeah, they are not able to fly, so they are destroyed. And they were also hit in the previous round, where we have a couple of hits. So this is 6. This is 6. They are destroyed. So the airfield is not destroyed, but we have the situation, at least 1 battalion of ground units is on Guadalcanal. Yes, and one of the 2 things, anytime or at the end of the one battle cycle, have eliminated all US air units or Guadalcanal. So that will be the situation, because you see now the airfield, of course, will repair, but the bombardment was hitting also the airplanes. So probably what should be done, the planes from the carriers who should be sent here, but to be quite honest, we will be only slaughtered by this bombardment. So nothing will happen. In the end, 2 Japanese conditions, victory conditions, has been fulfilled. They landed the battalion and they eliminated all US air units on Guadalcanal, although they didn't manage to interdict the base. In the meantime, one of the cruisers of the Japanese Imperial Navy was severely mauled, 3 hits, and a super, let's say, a lucky shot from the submarine destroyed Enterprise. With that, we'll conclude this scenario. We played the Rush for the Island version, which paid out, but in the first battle cycle, Americans would be first to move. They could potentially strike with the planes and with the submarines, the landing Japanese. The Japanese really, I would say, risked approaching here and then moving in the first battle cycle here. A lot of things helped with putting the dusk as a first, let's say, lightning condition. As you can see, this is a pretty fast scenario, pretty exciting, and I strongly recommend you trying this. Really, really great fun, and I also had really great fun with this. Guys, if you like this video, kindly please give thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, I really wholeheartedly encourage you and ask you to subscribe. If you'd like to comment more on the strategies, if you notice any errors which I made, like forgetting that once I hit the base, I also hit the planes, please don't hesitate to point this out in my comments. I'm still learning this fantastic game, although I played probably around 20 scenarios so far. I know that I'm still making the mistakes. I'm really having a lot of fun and joy with creating those, so there will be more. You can count on me. There will be more. Thank you for today and have a great day. Bye.